Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today for our webinar, Real-Time Visibility with Tailwind and Samsara. Before we get into the presentation, with Canada Day and Independence Day coming up, we do have a quick poll question for our audience. Let me just get that pulled up here for us. We want to find out how you plan on celebrating. Now, will you be wearing your most patriotic outfit? For us Canadians, that would likely be a hockey jersey and a toque or a beanie. Will you be attending a good old-fashioned or maybe hosting a good old-fashioned barbecue or picnic, lighting off some fireworks out there, or maybe just, relaxing at home? All right, let's give people a couple more seconds here. All right, looks like most people are voting. Oh, good mix. We don't have a lot of toque-wearing Canadians, at least right now. Let's see here. I'll close this and share it out. So it looks like there's going to be some barbecuing and picnicking, and a lot of people just kind of chilling at home, which is also good to see. All right, thanks for that, guys. Now, my name is Brad Zaitzoff, and I'm the Senior Director of Marketing at Tailwind and Embossing Technologies. And today I'll be joined by Kyle Shaw, Director of Product Design and Delivery at Tailwind, and Sebastian Ibanez, Partner Manager at Samsara. To start off, we'll do a little bit of housekeeping. The webinar is being recorded and will be sent out to all registrants within the week. For the duration of the webinar, all attendees will be muted, but if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to send a message in the chat or question box, and we'll review those at the Q&A portion at the end of the webinar. For those new to Tailwind, we're a transportation software company focused on helping small to mid-sized trucking companies, freight brokerages, and those businesses that do both. Since launching our true web-based TMS offering in late 2016, we've made over 350, actually probably closer now to 400 enhancements and updates to it, making it stronger so it can help folks like all of you be more effective and raise your compete levels when taking on the big players in the freight market. Now, before I turn things over to Sebastian, I have one more quick poll question that'll help steer our conversation today. And that is, what are you most interested in learning about? Is it about streamlining your workflows between the driver and the office? Maybe you're most interested in getting your staff focused on higher level tasks. Maybe you want to optimize communications with your drivers, or maybe it's automating some of those just time-consuming processes. Or maybe it's all of it. All right, we look at just over half voted here. People are still trickling in, so give a few more seconds. We'll help our team to develop the presentation on the fly too. All right, looks like most people have voted now. I'll close that and we'll share the results so everyone can see. So streamlining workflows is important, as well as everything. So we'll move quickly, and again, it will be recorded, so we'll get as much information out to you as possible here. All right, with that, I'm going to turn things over to Sebastian, who will lead things off with Samsara. Hi, Sebastian. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Brad, how are you? Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here and to show a little bit about what our solution can do and how it works with Tailwind. So without further ado, we'll go over a short presentation of Samsara and then jump into a quick demonstration of the platform. So just a general overview, Samsara was born with the mission of improving the safety, efficiency, and sustainability of the operations that power our economy. We have a very strong culture of innovation. Our founders are all from Meraki, a company they founded previously and got sold to Cisco. They all come from Stanford, Apple, and MIT, and we're building for the long term. We have over 1,500 employees today developing new products and features that support our customers. We're growing very fast. We have over 25,000 fleet customers across every sort of vertical in the transportation industry. We've been expanding our product from GPS and ELD solutions to cameras with artificial intelligence, automated workflows, integrations like the one we have with Tailwind, and more. And we're constantly investing in our customers to make sure they have a smooth transition into this technology with onboarding, technical support. We have consultants that help with the implementation, and we're constantly releasing new feature updates, making sure that the platform gets better over time. A quick overview of the products we have. So we basically have both a hardware and software solution. The telematic portal is the brains of the operation. It connects directly into the OBD2 port, and it is the device that allows the vehicle to have access to a Wi-Fi hotspot, live GPS tracking, routing and dispatch, ELD, and a bunch of other features that we will see once we jump into the live demo. This is a very easy installation to make. All our philosophy is one of ease of use, and that is very evident not only in the software platform, but also with our hardware. So everything is plug and play, no need to hardwire any sort of device into the vehicle. We also have the AI dash camera, which is our safety solution. It provides real-time alerts. It has edge computing, meaning it processes all the footage that it's recording in real time on the device itself, which allows us to provide real-time alerts, face recognition, automatic footage upload, which is very useful for exoneration of your fleet in case of an incident, and quick resolution of accidents whenever they happen. So this is our safety solution. And then this all goes, all the data that we're collecting through these devices goes to the cloud, where it's available through the dashboard and the mobile app. So this is where you get all the visibility and the actionable insights from your fleet. All the features that I was mentioning before, this is where you access them. The real-time location, ELD compliance, video-based driver safety, etc., etc. So we're going to see a little bit of this in a few minutes. At the end of the day, what we have here is a consolidated platform for fleet management. Nowadays, if you are looking to get a GPS telematics solution and also want cameras, you're going to have to deal with two different companies. And then if you want data, that's a third one. At the end of the day, you end up working with a lot of different providers. In Samsara, we consolidate all that in one single place to make it simple and easy to use for all our customers. We also have an open API, which makes it very easy to integrate your device to your solution to other providers like Tailwind here. So that's a very brief, fast, high-level view of Samsara, but we'll provide more details over the demo itself. So we're jumping onto a platform here. As you can see, this is a Google Maps view overlaid with some symbols. What these symbols mean are basically the fleet. So what we're looking at here is Hardee's, which is one of our customers that allows us to use their platform to demo purposes. So the triangles, the green triangles are moving vehicles. If they're idling, they're going to be green circles. If they're offline, they're going to be black circles. And then the squares are going to be the assets, green online, black offline. So we can have a high-level overview of the fleet itself. And then here to the left side, we're going to have a list of all the vehicles that are being driven at this point, at the speed at which they're at, who's driving them, and where are they going. So if we click on one of these, we can actually get a lot of data from each one of these vehicles. So the first one is, as you can see here, a picture that updates automatically every 3 minutes to give you a sense of the conditions on the road. You can ask for this image to be updated whenever you want, manually. And then there's also a feature that allows you to drop in live into the camera to see the road and the driver live through our platform. Then we also have a host of sensors associated with our solution. As we can see here, this vehicle has both a temperature and a humidity sensor, which allows you to basically track the performance of those sensors over time. As we can see here, for example, we can overlay that data with the view that we have here. This blue line you see here is the route that the vehicle has taken so far. And we can see some of the stops that they've done here on the trip history. So it's going to highlight every time the vehicle stops. And if there's any routes pushed to the vehicle, we're going to be able to see them here. So we can see that there is actually a route that he's completing right now. He has skipped 3 stops. He has completed 5 out of 13 stops, and it's en route to stop number 8. So this is a way to easily audit the route that the vehicle needs to be taken. Now, the cool thing with the integration with Tailwind is that you can schedule dispatches directly from Tailwind and push them to Samsara in order to have an overview of how you're performing on those very quickly through our platform. So that's one of the benefits of the integration. We also have an ability to understand speeding. So we can see here where in the trip the person has been speeding, highlighted in red here. And then there are other other pieces of information here, like for example, fuel level. We can see how the fuel level is decreasing gradually here. So that's a general overview. We also have a lot of diagnostics. We are connected to the OBD2 port of the vehicle, so directly to the computer. All these diagnostics are uploaded in real time to the cloud, and you can set up alerts, and we'll see that in a few minutes, in order to get notified if there's anything wrong with the vehicle. So if there are any engine fault codes that need to be addressed, if the fuel is running low, for example, this guy is running at 29%, going low. We have an odometer here, whether the seatbelt is unbuckled or not, the engine speed, etc. So we have a bunch of information we're collecting on each vehicle. Now, a very cool aspect of Samsara is the kind of customer experience you can provide to the people you're serving with your services. So typically, when you're delivering something, for example, the ability to coordinate with the company you are delivering goods to makes it much faster and easier for your operations. So for that purpose, we have a very cool feature called the helicopter view, which basically allows you to see in real time where the vehicle is at. And we'll jump into that right now. Give me 1 sec. I think we're not live. Yeah, so because I started thinking with the speeds and the data there, it wasn't live. So now it is live, and I can jump into the helicopter view. So as you can see here, we can see the vehicle moving in real time. This looks very cool, but basically what is highlighting is the precision of our technology. So we have down to the second live GPS tracking. This is a satellite, a Google satellite view overlaid with our device. It basically tells you how precise our sensors are to determine the speed and the location of the vehicles. So if you have a geofence set up, this is gonna precisely tell you down to the second whenever the vehicle exits the geofence. And you can share these with customers so they know through our live sharing feature that they can, when the vehicle will arrive to their place. So it allows you to provide this sort of Uber-like experience. So whenever you, like, I don't know if you've noticed, when you order an Uber where you can see where the vehicle is coming at you, you can share that with your customer in an automated fashion, even through our APIs, to make sure that they are aware that you're going to their location and when you will arrive. So those are some cool aspects of the technology that we have here. And then related to this, as you can see, we are collecting a lot of data from each one of the vehicles that we plug our devices into. So it can be overwhelming, and we don't expect any person to be on top of that manually. So what we do here is that we allow you to set up alerts. So all these boxes you see here are triggers that can basically send an alert whenever a threshold set by you is met. So let's look at speeding, for example. If you want to be alerted anytime that the speed is above a certain amount of miles per hour, if you're in Canada, it's going to be kilometers per hour. Alert if speed is above the speed limit by a certain amount of kilometers per hour, and then if the speed is above the speed limit by a percentage. So let's say 10% over the speed limit, I want to be notified. And I want to not be notified only if this happens over, I don't know, 10 minutes. So if the speeding happened for 10 minutes or more, and it's above this threshold, please send an alert to, and then you can define here what sort of alert you want to send. Here we're sending an email, but we're also sending a text message. And if you have the mobile app, you'll also get a notification through your phone. So like this speeding alert, we have a bunch of others here. We have geofencing, for example, where you're able to basically define a geofence, whether by a circle, or you can even draw the geofence yourself. and you can get notified whenever a vehicle goes in or goes out of the geofence, depending on the type of alert you define there. So as you can see, we have a bunch of different triggers for this alerting, and it makes it very easy to be on top of any incident that is going on in your fleet. Another cool aspect of this, and this is going to be relevant because of the upcoming ELD mandate, is the ability to track hours of services. So here we have the hours of services violations. This really quickly allows you to understand if there's anything you need to control for in order to be compliant with the law. And we are getting certified for the upcoming Canadian ELD mandate. So this will work for Canada when that mandate comes in place. You'll be able to see any unassigned driving that needs to be managed, or unassigned segments in a route that need to be managed as well, in order to make sure that you have all the information in regards to the hours that your drivers are driving. Another cool aspect here is the dispatching. So this is where the integration with TMS, with Tailwind, is very relevant, because it allows you to push the routes to Samsara in order to make sure that you can audit them. As you can see here, you can see whether the stops were done in time according to the plan that was pushed to the platform, or whether they were late. If it's gray was skipped, red was late, green was on time. So we can see here that there's definitely some areas of improvement in the planning that they're doing for these particular routes. And we can see a graph that lets us know how we're performing versus the plan. So we can see here what was actually planned, what was actually pushed to the route in terms of timing, and what was actually performed. So it's a really quick way to understand how your routes are doing, how your drivers are performing, and get an idea on the areas that can be improved. As I alluded early, we also track for fuel consumption. This is a way to understand whether there are efficiencies that can be made by improving, for example, on the idling time. As we all know, the fuel is one of the biggest cost centers for fleets. So the ability to reduce idling really improves the bottom line of our operations. So for example, we can see here that this vehicle has been idling for 36% of the time, or 37% of the time. That's a lot of time. And there's even a cost associated with that idling. So it's a great way to understand the efficiency that the vehicles have. Of course, the more they idle, the less efficient they will be. So we can monitor that through here and understand how we can improve the way our vehicles are being used in order to reduce costs. Another cool aspect is the ability to create custom documents. So for example, Hardee's delivers food, and whenever they deliver something, they have a document that is pushed to the application that the driver uses that allows them to do proof of delivery. So we have some custom pre-made templates for documents here that you can use, for example, proof of delivery, fuel receipt, bill of landing, etc. But you can also create your own custom document types. So we make it very easy for you to say, okay, I want the driver to take pictures of an incident whenever it happens, add maybe a number for the VIN number for the vehicle itself, and then maybe, I don't know, a signature. So you can create here the type of document you want and push that to the application that drivers use. So you are eliminating paper in your operations, which is key. We have several customers that use this, for example, to scan invoices, which allows them to process them faster and speed the ability to get the money from the customers, as opposed to waiting for the driver to get back to the headquarters and process all the paperwork. So there's several ways in which this implements efficiencies into your operation if you use it properly. So it's a very interesting feature as well. And then the reporting we have here, basically reporting gives you a bird's eye view of the operation. You can customize this dashboard to show the data that is relevant to you. And then finally, because we have, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, over 25,000 customers all over the world, we are collecting a lot of data from fleets of all different types of sizes. So what we do here is that we anonymize that data, meaning it's not identifiable, but we use machine learning to cluster these fleets into groups that allow you to basically understand how you're performing against fleets that are similar to yours. So for example, Hardy's is a fleet that is primarily heavy duty, moderate time on the road, and does typically short trips. So this cluster that we're looking at is basically the one that we use to compare as a benchmark to the performance of Hardy's itself. So for example, on safety, we can see that Hardy's on harsh events is actually off target because the benchmark is 0.73, and we can see here that the average is 0.77. So this is an area of improvement that will allow us to stay competitive against fleets that are similar to ours. In terms of speeding, for example, we can see that we're doing very well. The benchmark is 11% when the average of the fleet is actually 7. So this is something that Hardy's does well. And then on efficiency, as I was mentioning before, the fuel consumption on idling, we are off target, 31% versus 22. So these are very quick checks and balances that allow you to stay on top of how particular aspects of your operations are performing. There's a lot of depth and features that there's a lot of depth to this platform and features that I didn't have the time to cover. But I just wanted to give you a very general overview of how Samsara works in order for you to benefit from the integrations that we built with the team at Tailwind. So I'm going to pass it to Kyle. Thank you so much for listening to me. And if you have any questions, please write them on the box. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sebastian. I think Kyle is right on there.
I am here. Can you hear me okay, Brad?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Okay, perfect. So I'm just going to show my screen here and make sure that I get the right one. There we go. Are we able to see Tailwind and the mobile, Brad?
Yeah, we can see the Tailwind screen as well as the mobile app, or what would look like an app right beside it.
It is the mobile app. Excellent. Awesome. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining us today. I'm going to be covering the integration from the Tailwind side of things, so how the data is going to be flowing between the two. Just a high-level overview in terms of what the integration does. First thing, it allows you to do direct messaging from within Tailwind to your drivers through the Samsara app. Second thing is the real-time location information that's being recorded from the Samsara devices that's being passed back to Tailwind. Third being the dispatches being able to be sent from Tailwind, obviously, to the Samsara device, where then your drivers are able then to see the routes, like Sebastian talked about, update them, so on and so forth. And then the last thing is the geofencing capabilities, which Sebastian touched on in the Samsara UI, and how that plays with us as well. So jumping into it, the first thing that I'm going to go over is the configuration, which is really, really easy from our side. All you need to do is go into your gear up at the top here, and then go to configuration. Underneath our integration section here, we'll find an area for telematics. And if we click on that, I already have it configured in my system, but normally if you were coming in here for the first time, you would see this top box, and the only difference would be is it would show connect instead of disconnect. So as a user, you would click connect, it asks you for your Samsara credentials to log in, you put those in, and then you're basically authenticated at that point. The only other thing that you need to do from this screen is then map your Tailwind drivers to those corresponding ones that you have set up in Samsara. So we can see here, I've already gone in and mapped Egidio to his corresponding record in Samsara. But if you had additional ones, you would simply hit your drop down here, source being Samsara, and it would then give you a listing of any drivers that you've set up in the Samsara system. Currently, we just have the one, so we would do this. Click add, and then it's mapped at that point moving forward. So you do this once or anytime that you need to onboard new drivers, and then you're pretty much good to go. From there, now I'm going to go through and show you how we assign a dispatch in Tailwind to one of your Samsara drivers. So I've gone in and I've already created an order. None of this is going to change from your normal workflow. So for those of you who are worried about, oh man, there's gonna be a lot more work, it's very, very minimal in terms of the steps that need to be done from your dispatchers. you would simply still go into your order, dispatch it out to a truck, and we make sure we have EG assigned there, and we're going to save that. It's going to change this here. Oh, there we go. It did come up. Perfect. So we can see here now we have our dispatch. It's gone in, created our route just as how we had it on our order. EG's assigned, all good. So now we see up at the top here, we have a couple different options in terms of our normal buttons, but we've also added one here for the send to Samsara. So what we do is we click on this. It asks us whether or not we want to send that to confirm. If there is information that is missing that's required in order for us to push this across, for example, if you haven't filled in the address details fully on a location, those sorts of things, it would tell you at this point in time, so you could go back and make those changes before making the push to Samsara. I've filled everything in, so we're good to go. We click send to Samsara, and that is now done. So we should see here in a few seconds in our route. Perfect. Now we have assigned trip 169, and we can see it on both sides here for this driver now to start the process. If I click into it, we'll see here it has our stops. We can use the navigation that's built into the Samsara app, or in the instance where I'm just coming in and making, say, an arrival at a location or a depart at a location, I can click into those. If there are geofences that have been set up around Rogers Arena here, what'll happen is you won't necessarily have to click this manual depart. So as you go into there, it'll trigger that for you automatically, and then go back and update those flags on the Tailwind side of things. So I could click my manual depart here and submit. If there's any notes or anything, I can throw those guys in there. Same thing on our delivery. We would go in, update it there. And then that information would go back and update our dates and times here on the Tailwind side of things. So from the dispatcher, there's really no additional work aside from clicking the button. And then from the driver side of things, it's all just part of their workflow from within Samsara now moving forward. Okay, so that gives us those. The other thing that I wanted to show today was how the real-time location information gets into our system and how we can take advantage of that. So inside of our equipment status here, what will happen is we'll see that we have our drivers, tractors, and trailers used for planning. And in this instance here, what will happen is as we get GPS pings, I don't have it connected, so it hasn't updated it, but if it is connected into your guys' trucks, what will happen is you'll see here the last known location would be updated from there. So you're able to then go in and say, okay, his last known location is this. When can I expect that he's going to be getting to my location or getting to his arrival and departures, those sorts of things for ETAs, and basically help you in that planning purposes. So currently we aren't bringing in any of the hours of service information that Samsara is able to capture, and like Sebastian had talked about. What a lot of our customers that are taking advantage of the integration already are doing is they have two tabs open, one for Tailwind and one for Samsara. So I'm just going to jump back over to the Samsara side of things. And you can see here, if I go to my routes, we should see that I have that trip 169 that's inside of here, and it shows us our route. It updates all of our stuff inside of here. So just like we had talked about from the demo that Sebastian had done, we see all that information flowing through. And that's really it from our side. Oh, sorry, one more thing, the chat messaging side. So if I go back into Tailwind here, inside of our SMS module up at the top, the little chat icon, I can go to EG here and send him a message. So hello, EG. Change it to be Samsara instead of our SMS and send that through. And then you'll see here on the phone, it says we have a new message here, shows up right in our app. We can bring that information in and the driver can communicate back and forth directly from within there. And that all flows back through into Tailwind as well. And that's pretty much it from the Tailwind side of things. Brad, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you very much, Kyle. And here I'll grab the presentership back as well.
Sure.
Show my screen. All right. Now, before we get into our Q&A, I had one last poll question for our audience. And that is, now that you've learned about the new Samsara integration with Tailwind, how do you want to be moving forward? Let me just open that up. So would you like more information on how Samsara can boost operational efficiency for you? Maybe you'd like to speak to Tailwind about streamlining your driver and office communications and operations with the new Samsara integration, or maybe you like the status quo, and it's a little tongue-in-cheek here, prefer sticking to the time-consuming check calls. See what people have to say here. I give people a few more seconds here. Looks like we have a few people to be following up with after this, so that's good to see. Some will probably just be chillaxing at home and not changing things. All right. Thanks everyone for that. I'll close that poll and now I'll move into some of the questions that have been coming in here. So we have a question here. How long does it take to get set up and running? Well, Sebastian, as you're on screen right now, we'll start with you. How long does it take to get the Samsara devices set up and running?
Yeah, that's a great question, Brad. So Samsara was designed with ease of use in mind. That's evident throughout the entire platform, but it's also evident in our hardware. So everything is plug and play. There's no hardwiring required, and it's very simple to get started. So I wouldn't say that it takes a lot of time. We do have a network of installers that can support customers that would like some help with the hardware side of things. And we have consultants that help with implementation. So it's pretty straightforward, it's easy, and I encourage everyone that is interested in it to start a free trial with us to see it on their end.
So there is a free trial as well, is that right?
Yes, we do provide free trials, and I guess this is a good instance to also mention that we're going to be providing a 20% discount to any Tailwind customer that is interested in evaluating the solution. So if you have a fleet that is larger than 10 vehicles and you're interested in learning more about Samsara, reach out to your Tailwind rep. They will make sure to connect you to someone in Samsara who will provide you a starting discount of 20% and the ability to start a free trial to evaluate this solution alongside whatever you are using today.
Fantastic. Should have probably led with that before answering that last question, but everyone can also reach out to us just at info@tailwindtms.com and we can follow up with them afterwards too. Moving back to the actual question itself though, Kyle, what's it take to get you showed what it takes to get set up with Samsara in Tailwind, but just for those that are new to Tailwind, what's it take to get set up with Tailwind?
Yeah, it's also fairly easy, and I can attest to Sebastian's comment that it is very easy to get Samsara set up as well in your trucks. They had sent us a device, and I had it connected in my van in less than 5 minutes and was able to start to see data going back and forth. So it is very easy. But from a Tailwind perspective, again, it's simple. We also offer a free trial on our system for you to come in and evaluate, and then pretty much hit the ground running, ready to go. In terms of the integration, we went through it. It's a few clicks and you're up and running, and the data is then flowing back and forth between both us and Samsara at that point.
This is a question for Kyle. Looks we got one from Bree here. Looks like there had been a glitch beforehand with the route. Let me see if I can get this correctly here. The route optimization I designed for the driver get mixed up. Has it been fixed? So
I would have to follow up on that one just to see. I know that at some time a little while ago we did have some issues with some of the timestamps going across from our side to the Samsara side of things, which should be resolved now at this point, but I hadn't seen anything with the actual optimization piece. So I can check, and if we don't have anything on file, I can follow up after the call here, and we can get some details to make sure that if it isn't and you're still having issues with it, that we can get that resolved for you guys, obviously.
Thanks, Barry. Yeah, we'll reach out after the presentation. Najma here is answering, how does the ELD integration work? Which this is what we were just talking about in the presentation. Do you want?
Yeah. So maybe I'll start with that one. So from our side of things, currently we are not bringing in any of the hours of service information into Tailwind, just because really the only purpose for us in the TMS side would be from a planning perspective, and we want to overhaul some of the stuff that we do have from our planning and dispatching capabilities, and we would lump it into that. But really the only thing that is important is the remaining time on his cycle. For some of the additional stuff that's going to be required for me to go take a look at some of the history, the actual logs, those sorts of things, that's where Samsara, you'll just log into their interface. And Sebastian, I don't know if there's anything else that you want to touch on specifically on there from an ELD perspective.
Sebastian? Oh.
Sorry, from the ELD perspective in terms of what? I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. So I was just saying that from our side right now, we're not recording anything from the hours of service side. The main thing that would be important would be like your remaining cycle time, but all of that is fully in on the Samsara piece. So you can view your history, you can go in and get those reports and those sorts of things. But if there was anything additional that you wanted to speak to there.
Yeah, hours of service is very relevant in Canada today because, as we all know, there's an ELD mandate coming up soon. Samsara is in the process of getting established by the government as a provider of ELD solution. So you will be able to use our solution in order to track the hours of service, make sure that you are in compliance with the law, and you'll be able to audit and track all that through the platform, as Cal mentioned.
And that's the same with the US as well for our US customers?
Yes.
Excellent. All right. Rob is asking, how do fuel stops work? They have a specific service center. I'm wondering if that can integrate with Tailwind. I guess that's more of a Tailwind oriented integration there.
Yeah, so we integrate currently with a couple different fuel providers. I can't think of them all off the top of my head. I think there's half a dozen. Brad, I don't know if you want to bring up.
Yeah, I can I'll pull it up right now while you're.
Yeah, but we do integrate with, like I said, at least half a dozen of them. And if it is one that you're working with that we don't currently integrate, we're always open to speak to them, see what they have available behind the scenes in terms of potentially APIs, fuel downloads, those sorts of things. And then we could import those in as expenses and deductions for owner operators and such. Brad's brought up the ones that we're currently working with right now. And then, yeah, if it's not on this list, just reach out and we can start some discussions behind the scenes there.
Oh yeah, they're Pilot, Flying J, Husky, EFS, Fleet One, Multi-Service, Comdata, BVD, and QuickQ. I'll just letting folks know. All right, next question, Jared. Tracking is for Samsara only carriers, correct? I guess. Wondering about the tracking, I guess, within Tailwind.
Yes, currently our only tracking integration is with Samsara. If you do have additional ones out there, we'd be happy to talk to you, but Samsara is a leader in the space here. We've only heard good things about them, and they're growing very rapidly. And in my opinion, they're very competitive in terms of what they're offering compared to some of the other providers that are more legacy out there. Sebastian, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate the vote of confidence there, Kyle. And as you mentioned, we are growing very rapidly. We are offering technology that our competition doesn't have. We would be very happy to guide anyone who is interested on an evaluation of the platform to compare it with their current solution. And as I mentioned earlier, we have an offer for Tailwind customers in order to evaluate the platform that in a way that is cost competitive to the solution they have today.
Excellent, thank you. Oh, good question here from Kyle. Another Kyle, not you, obviously. Is there integration for POD uploads between Samsara and Tailwind, looking to consolidate to only one app?
That is a great question. Unfortunately, currently, we don't have the document upload piece as part of the integration. When we had built it a few months ago, there were some things still being worked on behind the scenes from an API perspective for us. So I'll follow up with our technical team to confirm whether or not that is available, but it is something that is on our roadmap to allow us to do in the future. In the meantime, what our customers are doing is they will still download our POD complete app, and you can still assign drivers that way, and they can upload their docs through the other app separately. I understand the app fatigue is a little bit of a pain, but we are working towards a solution there.
Yeah, and I just want to add there that if you have any feature requests or feedback in regards to how the integration is working, please surface this to us. This is, of course, an ongoing relationship we had with Tailwind, and the idea here is to create a solution that works for the needs that you have today. So if there's anything there that is missing, let us know. We'll make sure to include in the roadmap and develop that for the needs that may arise in the future.
I think both Tailwind and Samsara have a similar ethos of continuous improvement, and that continuous improvement comes from the feedback that we get from our customers. So thank you for that question as well as your feedback. Can there be notification or alerts when a driver arrives at a destination without geofencing?
Can you run that by me one more time?
So somebody's wondering if they can get notification or alerts set up when a driver arrives at a destination without having geofencing set up.
Gotcha. So I'm assuming that's just through the Samsara side. So Sebastian, go ahead.
Yep. Yeah, so we have a trigger for route stop arrival. So if that destination that you're going doesn't have a geofence, but it is included in the route that you're pushing to Samsara, which can be done through Tailwind, then you can define an alert that will let you know whenever that stop happens. So the short answer is yes, we do have that.
And Thomas here has seems like a follow-up question to the POD complete one. Will drivers also update via the Tailwind app, or will Samsara replace that?
Nope, Samsara will replace the updating from the app side of things. And so the only thing that you would be using the Tailwind app for would be to do the proof of delivery uploads. That's it.
Do the addresses in Tailwind need to match precisely with the address associated with the geofences in Samsara? That's a question here from Perry.
Great question, and I honestly don't have an answer off the top of my head. Go ahead, Sebastian.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to mention the geofences are areas that you draw over a map that include different addresses. It could include a piece of, like, I don't know if it's a precise address in particular, but an area that you draw, a perimeter that you draw over a particular area. So I guess that as long as the address is within the parameters that you define in the geofencing Samsara, that should work. But Kyle, I don't know if that's something that you'd like to.
Yeah, and what happens is when we send across like a route from the Tailwind side, the location does need to be a complete location. It has to have your full address details in order for it to go to Samsara. So realistically, there shouldn't be a difference between what those are. So theoretically, yes, they probably should need to match, but they will, would be my best guess. But I'm happy to take that offline, Perry, and work with you on that one if you're finding otherwise, or you have any further questions about that for sure.
And someone's asking about the driver messaging and whether or not those will indeed be stored in the TMS.
Yep, so the historical messages will be available for you to go back and take a look at from the communication from the Samsara app to us and vice versa. I think by default, off the top of my head, we store or display the last 50 messages just so it's not showing a whole bunch of stuff, but you're able to go back and take a look.
And somebody's asking more roadmap related question here. What data will Tailwind be pushing and pulling from Samsara in the future?
That's a good question. And it's something that we do with a lot of our development on our roadmap side of things. We want to hear from you guys. We want to know what functionality and what features you guys are wanting next. So as people start to use it more and more, if they're finding that, hey, I really want to be able to get my ELD information in a different format or this sort of thing, or I want to start to take advantage and store some of the alerts that come back from the Samsara side, would be something we would be potentially looking at. But ultimately, as I always say, we're building the product for you, and we want your help in determining what those needs are. We don't want to dictate and say that this is what we need to build. It's for you guys, right?
The question from Carlton here is, they frequently operate in remote areas. How does the system work when offline or areas with no cell reception?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, so the device itself has memory. We are constantly pushing everything to the cloud. So the memory doesn't need to store a lot of information, but if you're going through an area that has no reception, that data gets stored in the device itself, and as soon as you get reception again, it gets pushed to the cloud, so you don't lose anything. Now, I do want to say that we have a multi-carrier chip basically inserted, a SIM card inserted in the device itself, so it connects to different providers of data depending on the place that you are, which ensures that you have a pretty good coverage all over Canada, the US, and Mexico as well. So if you have any fleet that is going through anywhere in North America, you should be okay. But in the case that for any reason you are in an area that doesn't get reception, that data will be stored in the device and pushed to the cloud as soon as it connects again.
Oh, this is a good question here from Perry. Is there a way to send partial dispatches to Samsara? For example, if we have one driver complete one part of a trip and another driver complete another part, will each part of the trip get sent to the appropriate driver, or will both segments get sent to both drivers?
In the instance where you're switching drivers like that, we generally make the recommendation of creating two separate dispatches for it, just because you could run into issues there. I haven't gone through and tried a scenario where we have one driver that has it from, let's just say, A to B, and then a second driver that's doing it from B to C. But theoretically, we could separate those out if needed, and send it to the driver based off of the segment that they're associated to. If I were to hazard a guess, in not knowing and not testing it yet, it would send the whole route at this point. But I can check on that offline as well and see.
Good question, Perry. Thank you.
That is good.
And another question here, what information will be pushed from Tailwind into our customer portal? So I'm guessing that's what can be grabbed from Samsara and put into Tailwind and then into the customer portal so that our customers can help show their customers what's going on.
Yeah, that's also a really good question. At this point in time, we are not currently pushing any data to the customer portal in terms of anything aside from like your normal arrive and departed, those sorts of things, which would still go through. So it would be kind of like your manual process where you're marking those. And now if you automate that through the driver uploads, or sorry, the driver doing it, or the geofences, that will flow. We're not sending any location information at this point in time. Again, if we get the feedback for it from customers, it would make sense. Then we can definitely look at implementing something like that. And as well, like Sebastian had talked about in his overview of the demo there, you are able to share that helicopter view link. If that's something that your customers are looking for, you could send that over to them, and then they can have that real-time update in terms of where is the truck currently at. And that could be something that we could also look at potentially doing as an integration so that that can get passed through, so that you guys don't have to manually send it, those sorts of things. But would be happy to get feedback in terms of what you might be looking for there.
The questions keep on coming here. We're pushing overtime. This is great. If an order is picked up, would Samsara update Tailwind to show that the item has been picked up and is in transit?
Yes, it will. So as if the driver is updating those arrive and departures, it will automatically push that through and update the status inside of Tailwind to show that that load is in transit or delivered or whatever that status is.
A question here for Sebastian from Rob. Can personal conveyance be turned off in Samsara?
I'm sorry, I don't think I know what personal conveyance is.
Would that be a driver, I guess, moving from his home to the location? Or
got it. So
maybe,
like
maybe if you can elaborate if that's not quite right, but
I guess I understand what the question means. No, it will still track it. It tracks everything. Now, what we do have are things to ensure privacy. So, for example, we have covers for the cameras. So, if you have a camera, an AI camera installed on your vehicle, and you're off duty, you can simply slip the cover onto the camera itself in order to make sure that it's not recording. That's basically ways to ensure privacy when you're using a vehicle that is for work, but you also take it home and use it privately. It would still track your home though.
Looks like Perry just following up to his previous question regarding geofencing. If we send a dispatch to Samsara, a geofence will automatically get created for the stops, and the arrival and departure data points will automatically update Tailwind. No need to manually set up geofences in Samsara?
No, we're not manually creating or automatically creating the geofences from the Tailwind side of things, just because we don't know what the parameters are that you guys would like to set up for those points. Like Sebastian had shown on the demo, you basically drag the points of the polygon around it in terms of where you want those to be, and then that would be the trigger from there. So we would create the locations, and if you want to create them as a geofence, you would need to go into Samsara and manage those.
Only to add to that, as long as the routes has stops and those stops are pushed towards Samsara, you can set an alert that notifies you whenever a vehicle arrives to that location. So it's not the same as a geofence per se, but functionally it's pretty similar.
And Rob is just going back to his question regarding personal conveyance. So that is the driver moving the vehicle, but he'd not be on duty per se, just moving the truck while on reset. So
yeah.
Oh, and Gurjeet, thank you very much. He's answering questions for us. He says, we use Samsara. Personal conveyance can be turned on for both Canada and USA.
There you go.
Thank you.
Perfect. There you go. Amazing.
We build a community.
I love it. I love it. Wonderful.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah.
All right, looks like questions are wrapping up, and we are coming up on time, so we'll start wrapping up as well. On behalf of our presenters, Sebastian and Kyle and myself, we just thank you very much for joining us today. Should you have any questions that we weren't able to cover, please reach out to us by phone, 1-66441-0441. Email us at info@tailwindtms.com. Remember that Sebastian, and it's been recorded now, is offering 20% off for Tailwind customers signing up or wanting to try out. We'll try out Samsara, so I'd suggest taking advantage of that. And with that, we do really hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, Rob.
Bye-bye. Thank you.